So, hey everybody, it's Jasmine from Scholar Prep Nation, and today I am with DeVon Walker of Play Black Wall Street, and he also is a recruiter for UCLA. So, we're so excited to bring him to talk with you today and just to see how he can both help you to navigate your college journey as well as get into like just more historical context and really understand economics for people of color. So so happy to have you, DeVon. Tell me a little bit more about what you do for both your business and your job.
Of course. Thank you, Jasmine. Thanks for the introduction and the honor of being here today. So at UCLA specifically, I serve as Assistant Director for African American, African Diaspora Recruitment. So in charge of really going out into the community, forming solid partnerships with, Scholar Prep Nation or TVM and other likewise community-based organizations to help UCLA increase our numbers of Black and African Diaspora students. Passion project or outside of my work, my 9 to 5, I also created a board game, Black Wall Street, the board game, where we're trying to take the history of Tulsa, Oklahoma, Black Wall Street, put it into a board game and really empower players and Black families across the nation to be able to, start businesses and start that conversation around money. So that's a little bit of the two entities that I'm representing today, representing UCLA informally and more Play Black Wall Street formally. But yeah, excited to be here.
Very cool. And so like right now, we've all been locked up. I know Cali is a little bit tighter on their restrictions than like most other places. How has that impacted a young person that is needing to, explore universities or consider their college journey? How do you think it's been impacting students?
It's a long list, Jasmine. But so at first, at the beginning of, let's say, March and April, the main struggle was students not being able to come to campus to obviously get campus tours and get their questions answered. And we were still in limbo and transition, so we hadn't made that full virtual shift. At this point, right now it's September leading into October. Now our campus tours are virtual. You can log on to UCLA and I'm sure other institutions as well and get virtual tours where there's actually students walking you through and there's Q&A and getting questions answered. So that gap has been closed a little bit. We also now have obviously tons of Zoom calls, either with families, with students, with school districts. So we've been able to close that as well. The gap that we're still struggling with is there's obviously a population of students who don't have the best internet connection, or maybe don't have, the best internet at all, don't have a laptop, only have a cell phone. So we're still trying to figure out ways that we can close that gap. And if Scholar Prep Nation, if y'all have some tips for me, please let me know. But we're still trying.
But we'll see what we can do. Yeah, and so like in terms of that, and like we've definitely seen that not just through like college age, but even down to the our youngest of people. Just recently they showed the 2 students outside of Taco Bell trying to connect to the internet because I think no one really considered that some don't have the privilege of just internet because it's so common. You just assume that everybody has it or everybody has a laptop, but that's not the case. And so I'm glad to hear that UCLA is really taking those things into consideration. Now, what are like some other things that you're seeing behind the scenes that may impact students for the 2021 school year?
Gotcha. So there's a few things that are coming to mind. The first thing that I'll talk about is the whole pass, no pass for some courses. So there are some students, and it's going to vary depending on the district that you're in or the state that you're in. But there are some schools that at the spring quarter, so like March through May, they were only giving pass grades, which can be good depending on what type of student you are. But if you're an A student, if you're a B student and you got a pass, that's the same as a C or a D. So now when you're applying to UCLA, we don't know the difference between a pass that was an A and a pass that was a D. So now those A students aren't getting that benefit. Second, those grades don't impact your GPA, which again depends on the student. Could be a good thing or it could be a bad thing. So it's not going to impact your UC GPA, but it will count towards your A through G courses. So at least you're still able to check some boxes off for eligibility. The secondary thing that I think is the more pressing one is the whole SAT, ACT question. And, right now, if you saw the article that went out about a court case in Alameda, California, trying to say that the UC system shouldn't be doing any type of blind or consideration of SAT scores at all, that is still pending. So, it's pending litigation. We'll see what happens. But as of today, as of right now, September 9th, 2020 at 6:12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, it is still optional for you to submit your SAT and ACT scores to UCLA and other UCs. If you don't have a score, if you don't want to take the test, if you don't want to share your score, you're perfectly fine. But if you've already taken it and you want to show off your high score, then feel free to submit it.
Well, does that impact? So you said it's optional, but if somebody has a high score and they submit it, does it impact their admissions?
Great question. So as of today, and again, it changes so often, so I just want to emphasize, as of today, September 9th, yes, if you do submit your score and it's a relatively good score, then yes, it can positively impact your application. But likewise, if you submit a bad score, and bad is always relative, but if you're scoring 700, 800, that's not as competitive as we would like to see. So if you're submitting a 700 SAT score, that's going to negatively impact your application. So that's why I would recommend, if you feel like you have a solid score, and solid, I would say 1,000, 1,100 and up is looking pretty solid, go ahead and submit it, and now we can use it. If you're below the 1,000, I would say you might want to keep that SAT score to yourself. Put it in your pocket.
Understood. So how can parents support their children in navigating some of the changes that you foresee coming through this next school year?
Great question. So one thing for sure this year is parents, and some parents are kind of behind the scholars on this point, but Zoom etiquette and just knowing how to utilize Zoom. You're laughing. That's real. It's real.
I've seen the memes.
It's real out here. So I would say you definitely want to make sure, your student knows how to mute, knows how to turn off the camera, knows how to share links, share screen, like all of that is now not necessarily mandatory, but it can take the experience in Zoom for sure to the next level. The second thing that I would say is really learning how to manage time a little bit better in this virtual environment. Because even for myself as a professional, I get Zoom links for multiple meetings at the same time, some overlapping. So now I need to prioritize, okay, which meetings, which events, which interviews do I have time to actually go to? So start to have those kind of time management conversations with your students about, using Google Calendars, using other time management tools. And then number 3 that I would say is maybe now more than ever, students need to be a little bit more active as far as reaching out to people. Because before, colleges would come to their schools, and then now I can present to the school, and then the student just happens to get a pass and they can come. But now, parents should be reaching out to folks like me. Students should be reaching out to folks like me or institutions to see how they can get that time, either with their school or on a one-on-one basis. And then the last one, sorry, I'm over talking a little bit, but one more is I would say you want to be able to teach your students how to communicate like we're doing right now. They need to be comfortable talking in class. They need to be comfortable talking on Zoom or on other platforms. But more importantly, inside of the UC application, we have 8, and the student chooses 4 personal insight questions where they're going to write essays and really communicate their story and their experience to us. A lot of students don't take the time to actually put their full story in those. So we lose out on that value. So I would say have them be comfortable communicating their story and experience.
Very good stuff. How would you say a student could get a little bit more comfortable with real deal communication, especially in this context?
That's great. I would say, practice. I'm a former athlete, so I'm always going to go to practice. So if you're able to, speak up in class a little bit more. I just left my little siblings, and they were in Zoom class, and they were just sitting there, kind of paying attention, kind of not, but not asking any questions, not raising any hands. So I think it's very easy in this digital environment to be passive because there's no one telling you to speak up. So I would say in class, practice speaking up, practice asking questions, and practice sharing your story. And that can be separate from class. That can be a vlog that you do and you never share with anybody, but you just practice being able to talk on camera, on screen about things.
Right, right. Very cool. So you shared a couple of things. Parents, don't be telling Junior he needs to be washing the dishes when he's trying to take his courses. That's all we just trying to say out here. Students can practice sharing their stories, being able to communicate, being less passive in this setting, and really speaking out, and especially being able to write, especially for their applications. What are a couple of other things, like in addition to like that and transcripts, kind of knowing what they want to major in? What are some other things that students can do to get ready for both their college and career endeavors?
Got you. So I would say maybe even before like knowing what you want to major in, know what really you want to do with your future, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like know about what your gift is. Me, as you can tell, I like to speak. I'm a communicator. I'm a speaker. So being able to figure out how can I use my natural gifts to do something in the future. Some other people might be fashion oriented. Like you seem like you're a fashion person. You're very expressive by what you wear. Yeah, I love that. So being able to like take that superpower and that talent of fashion, of physical expression, and then use that in your future career, no matter what it would be. So I would say parents, scholars work together to figure out what is it that you are just naturally good at and you love to do, and
Mm-hmm.
then figure out what career or what business can you start that will highlight that.
Right. And so you mentioned something. You said, college, career. In Scholar Prep Nation, we a lot of times talk about college, but we also focus on career. What are some things like career wise that students can be considering right now?
Interesting. As far as just preparing for a particular career,
Yeah, like
exploring
our
career.
yes, exploring careers, preparedness, even starting a business. I know we talked about Black Wall Street a little bit.
Mm,
What are some like qualities you think that they would need to develop in like right now?
got you. So some of the qualities that we talked about, like not being passive, being hungry and going out there and getting experiences. For example, if you want to be a lawyer, doctor, professional YouTuber, a painter, and you want to paint Mbaku one day.
Mbaku, we need Mbaku. We need more Mbaku, y'all. Let me let
Right.
y'all know. Okay, go
So
ahead.
if you want to go into any of those career paths, what lawyers are you reaching out to?
Right.
What doctors are you reaching out to, right? So you can't be passive in this environment. There's so many different ways you can get connected with people on Instagram, on YouTube, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on their own personal websites. So I would say know what you want to do and then start reaching out to people. And you can do Zoom interviews just like this with doctors. You can do
Mm-hmm.
Zoom interviews just like this with painters. And you can ask them, how did you get where you are? What skills do I need to be a lawyer? And they will, some of them, not all of them, but they will hopefully be able to pour into your cup and give you some advice.
Right.
The second thing that I would do is once you figure out kind of the career that you want to go, look at all the different majors that can get you to that career. And I
Mm-hmm.
say that because I meet with a lot of students who are interested in being pre-med. They want to be doctors. And they're
Right.
like, I'm a major in biology. I'm like, all right, great. Do you like biology? They're like, no. I don't like biology. And I was like, okay, then why are you going to major in biology? And they think that they need to major in biology to become a doctor, which is false. You can be almost any major and still be a doctor. So I would say same thing with law school. You don't need to be a major in pre-law or a major in philosophy or a major in sociology to become a lawyer one day. So again, take a few seconds just to search what career you want to do, and then the many majors that can actually get you and prepare you for that career while also not destroying and melting your brain.
Right. Who would a like, let's just say that a student has never spoken to anyone about their college or career path. Who would they need to speak to help them to make some of those critical decisions about pathways into school
Gotcha.
and
So
like which
that's
courses that they need to take and know some of the decisions that you spoke about? Who would they need to talk to?
so I don't know if I'm an overachiever in what I do, but I walk students through that process myself. So
Okay.
if a student really has no idea if they're a ninth grader, 10th grader, 11th grader, or if they're in 12th grade and they're about to apply, I always ask them, what do you want to do with your future? Not what major. I ask them, what do you want to do with your future? And then I ask, what's the major? And sometimes they have no idea what the major is, and sometimes they give their major and it matches perfectly. The job's easy. Other times they give the major and it doesn't match at all. So now I need to have that deeper conversation like, okay, let's talk about this for a second. And then by the end, they're good to go. So I would say if your student has no idea or has a little bit of an idea, reach out to the admissions folks at UCLA, at Morehouse, at LSU, at Texas University, like wherever you want to go, reach out to them and say, hey, I want to be a doctor. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to be a painter. What majors does your college have for me that will prepare me? And if they're about their business, like we are at UCLA, we'll be able to help them out and let them know.
Shout out to UCLA. Hit up DeVon. You're going to get set straight. So now let's just shift gears. So we've talked a lot about, college courses and things like that, but like you mentioned Play Black Wall Street and the Black Wall Street, the board game. Tell us a little bit about your mission there, what you wanted to accomplish and how it is reaching those goals.
Let's do it. So interesting enough, we kind of stumbled upon this business concept. So I've been working in education since 2012. In 2017, I was working at UC Riverside, out in Riverside, California, Inland Empire. And I was supporting the Village Nation, very similar to the Village Method, shout out. But I was supporting the Village Nation during one of their summer camps. And we go up to Big Bear, we camp, no internet, no phones, no cell service, no electricity. And we're up there and you have to pick a camper name to be called for that week. So basically trying to, leave the traumas of whatever you deal with at home, and you rename yourself. You can be called Purple Lipstick Queen. You can be called Black Wall Street, which was my name. You can be called King, whatever positive affirmations you want folks to call you. So my name was Black Wall Street going to this because I've always been about Black ownership and just economic power in general. But when I went to this summer camp, before I made the board game, literally no student knew what Black Wall Street was. Wow. I was like, what? Even some of the counselors who were college students, they were like, what's Black Wall Street? I was like, oh my goodness. So that summer, that was my project. I was like, I'm going to make a game that can teach you all about Black Wall Street. So within 3 months, we created Black Wall Street, the board game. And this is the second edition. This looks much better than the first and prototype that we created. But the whole point of it, and there's a nice timeline on the back as well, the whole point of it is to take the history and legacy of Tulsa's Black Wall Street, Greenwood in Oklahoma, founded by O.W. Gurley and a bunch of other visionaries and Black business folks. And back then, the entire city of Greenwood, or the neighborhood of Greenwood, was Black owned. Over 300 Black owned businesses. The dollar circulated in the community for over a year. Right? Today, it almost lasts 23 hours in the Black community, right? So not even close. So yeah, it was really important for me to be able to put this information, this history, this legacy and financial literacy tool into a board game for Black families to be able to really empower themselves and create generational wealth for themselves. So it's been a beautiful journey since 2017. We're 3 years deep in. Every year we grow, every year we get better. This year we added in a online academy section. So previously we used to do in-person workshops and really teach people how to start their own businesses, teach people how to work together, and of course go over the history. But with COVID, we weren't able to do that. So we were like, how can we still, reach folks? So we started Play Black Wall Street Academy, a 5-week program where students literally take an idea that they have, and by the end of the 5 weeks, they're presenting a vision statement for that business, for that idea. And then, of course, we sprinkle in Black history and Tulsa history all throughout the 5 weeks.
Very cool. Very cool. Good stuff. So I'm so excited for Black Wall Street, the board game, Play Black Wall Street, as well as the work that you're doing at UCLA. How can people take advantage of the Play Black Wall Street, the board game?
Of course. So if folks would like to support, if they want to get a game and empower their family, please head to playblackwallstreet.com. Everything spelled normally, playblackwallstreet.com. You can get yourself a game before the holidays. We also have a buy one, get one 50% off. So if you want to bless a friend or bless a family member, feel free to get those too and save some money. Our next cohort of Play Black Wall Street Academy, we're on our third cohort now. It's been so great seeing the students' vision statements. It's really fun. Our next cohort is going to be in October, and we may do something a little special with Scholar Prep Nation. We may do a little something,
Yeah, we
something.
gotta
We'll
do
see.
a little something with
Yeah,
Scholar Prep Nation. Yes,
yeah.
yes, indeed. So we're so super excited about that. Earlier we talked about also if a student hadn't heard or doesn't have a resource to get information for their educational pursuits, how they would need to reach out to someone like you. Well, what's really awesome about Scholar Prep Nation is that DeVon is in Scholar Prep Nation. He's available as a resource. So if you get in there, you get access to DeVon and you can get your questions answered. So we're looking forward to the collabo in October. We're looking forward to just continue to see more about what you do. And we're so glad that you took some time out to talk with us this evening, DeVon, and share more about the great work that you're doing.
Of course, Jasmine. It's been a pleasure. I appreciate the opportunity. And all y'all amazing scholars out there, make sure y'all tap in Scholar Prep Nation. We're trying to prepare y'all for the future, for college, for life, and beyond. Tap into the beautiful resource, y'all.
Awesome. Thank you. Take care now.
All right. Peace, y'all.